Hi, I'm Miranda.
And I'm April.
And this is the True Crime Co.
A podcast about everything macabre and mysterious.
Christmas edition.
Woo! We are going to be doing this episode on Ronald G. Simmons.
Not Richard Simmons.
Not to be confused with Richard Simmons, the iconic workout guru that is very different from this person.
Didn't murder people that we know of.
He only murdered fat.
Allegedly.
Well, Richard Simmons, do not get offended. It was
Simmons
all
not listened to us.
You never know. It could be like one of those Stitch things, where they're like, "Oh, you're mentioned, Richard. See them," and he's like, "Them bitches." Okay.
So who are we doing our show on today?
Ronald G. Simmons. He is an American mass murderer who killed 16 people over a week-long period in Arkansas in 1987.
The 80s.
But we're going to start this story out. I'm going to do it by kind of decade because I think the build-up is going to be very important in this because it's going to give you a little bit of a background on his self and how he became who he is. And you are ready?
I'm ready.
Non-grumpiness?
I'm not grumpy. Ready. I'm go.
She grumpy, y'all. Anyways, all right. So Ronald, I'm going to call him Simmons just because I don't like to say his name. Simmons was born on July 15th, 1940 in Chicago, Illinois. At the age of 3, his father died of a stroke. And within a year after that, his mother had remarried to a fella named William D. Griffin, who was a civil engineer in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. 1946, after, I guess, 2 years later, they moved, 3 years later? 2 years later? 2 years later, they moved to Little Rock, Arkansas. However, when they were stationed there, they moved around a lot just because of transfers for William. 1957, Simmons dropped out of school and joined the Navy. And while stationed in a naval station in Bremerton, Washington, sorry if I said that wrong.
They rhyme.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I just noticed that kind of rhymed. I didn't notice it before when I said it because I probably said it really bad. But that is where he met his wife. And I absolutely apologize on this because I'm going to butcher this one. And I'm sorry. But her name is Bersabe Rebecca or Becky Ulibarri.
Do you think she was native?
Possibly. I don't know. It doesn't really say.
You said Washington.
Mm-hmm.
They have a pretty high native population.
Mm-hmm. She could have been indigenous for sure, but I don't know. I mean, she kind of has a complexion of indigenous.
Yeah.
But she could also be Italian or
Mommy thought she had indigenous features too, and you guys are just white.
Really? Are you going to leave that in there? Because I'm going to point that out, Stewart.
Show Mike this episode. He'll love it.
Okay. I will say, Mike, you must listen to the Simmons episode because Miranda's poking a bear. Mm-hmm. Just like you do. Poking a bear. All right, moving on. 1960s. So remember, he met Becky or Rebecca in 1957. They married in 1960 in New Mexico in July. That was a very hot wedding, I'm sure. And then over the next 18 years, the couple had 7 children.
Not 7.
Yeah, 7.
No.
Yeah, that's 5 on one hand, 2 on the other. 7.
I can't imagine. Can you imagine if I had 7 kids and they were all like my 2 kids? I would be dead.
You want 4 kids. I mean.
Yeah. My kids are good.
What? You just contradicted your own statement.
They're just a little opinionated.
They're a little wild and opinionated.
We don't water them down in this house.
Oh, is that what you call it? Watering it down, I see. Mm-hmm.
Why are you Irish?
I don't know. Shut up. It just sounded good at the moment, okay? It just sounded good. That's what we're going to go with. All right, 1963. I guess it's within the 18 years. Simmons left the Navy and joined the Air Force. During his 20 years of service, he received a Bronze Star Medal, Republic of Vietnam Gallantry Cross, Service of an Airman, and then Air Force Ribbon of Excellence in Marksmanship.
Oh, so he's a good shooter.
Mm-hmm. Apparently. I don't know if it's like, I don't know what they consider marksmanship. I mean, is it with a plane on a gun? Is it a handgun? Is it a rifle?
Well, it's not a laser because the Space Force didn't exist yet.
It's not a laser.
Not a laser.
You don't know when lasers were actually invented. Okay, that's alien craftsmanship. What?
The 40s. In Germany.
Germany in the 40s. I would think it was the 40s in Area 51 when that spaceship crashed and they stole all the technology that we now use today.
No, the Germans were way smarter than the Americans.
You know what? We're going to have to do an episode on Germans, I think.
Just in general, the Germanic people.
I think we're going to touch a little bit on Alfred. What's his name? I'm thinking Alfred Hitchcock, but that's not right.
Well,
What's
we
his name?
do have
Hitler.
German episodes that are in the works, and that's Hinterkaifeck and the Fritzl case.
Ooh, maybe we can just work some in there. I can make some comments about Hitler and some of his questionable actions. Not all of them, of course, because we all know.
Not.
Well, I mean, it's not exactly like the genocide and the genocide and the genocide. That's not
cool stuff.
I mean, this is interesting stuff though, because I was like, "Are you kidding me right now?" But I digress.
Yeah.
Okay, back to Simmons.
Ronald, not Richard.
Simmons. We're just doing Simmons. We're not giving him his first name. So 1963, 20 years service. He won all those medals and stuff. 1970s, approximately 1979, at the rank of Master Sergeant, he retired. Now we're moving into the 80s. Miranda's favorite time.
I love to make fun of the 80s.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
It's not my favorite decade.
But your favorite people were kind of born then. Hello.
Not my favorite decade.
So in 1981, Simmons, let me go back. April 3rd of 1981, Simmons was being investigated by the Cloudcroft, New Mexico Department of Human Services for allegations that he fathered a child with his then 17-year-old daughter, Sheila. Please remember Sheila's name. Noted in your mind.
Grandpa, Daddy?
Grandpa, Dad. Ooh, what would you call that? Granddad, I guess. Well, I mean, it would make sense if it was Granddad.
I think legally it shouldn't make sense at all.
Ooh, burn. Absolutely correct.
Is he dead?
We'll get to that.
I don't want him to come kill me.
We'll get to that. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So he was accused, or allegations, that he had fathered a child by his daughter Sheila, who he had been sexually abusing for her over the years. Toward the end of 1981, they all fled to First Ward, Arkansas, in Lonoke County. And then about mid-year 1983, they all moved to Dover, Arkansas, to a 13-acre parcel of land north of Dover, which is dubbed Mockingbird Hill. Mockingbird Hill, not Lane.
First off, he's like, "Oh, I am being investigated for raping our daughter.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get out of here."
Mm-hmm.
And Becca's like, yeah, pack the kids. Let's get out.
Yeah. But I think it becomes a little apparent a little later that he was, what did they call it?
Abusive?
No, they used different wording.
Controlling?
It's more like he was not the best person in the world.
Dickhead?
Sure, that's a good description of it. Sure, dickhead.
Several good options here.
You do.
You know how I feel about battered women syndrome. It's a real thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I just.
Well, and then, from the 60s, I mean, that's a different mindset anyways, because it's like she probably did work, honestly, and he did everything. So she was fully dependent on him. So she probably didn't see a way out, honestly. I mean, just assuming here, there's no factuals to my statement whatsoever. But, I mean, you're right. She probably had that syndrome.
Yeah, and how are you going to support 7 kids without the main breadwinner?
Exactly.
And now a grandkid.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, you already have some small children at home, which we will discuss a little later as well. So not only just a grandchild, children under the age of 18 and younger. I mean, it would be hard-pressed to do that. Okay, but going back to the 13-acre parcel of land that was dubbed marking.
That was my second point.
Yeah.
Anytime a man takes his family and moves on a giant parcel of land in a rural area.
While under investigation for allegations of father and an illegitimate child with his daughter.
Right. That's a red flag for me.
I think there's more than one flag there.
That's for sure a big one then.
I mean, yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Yeah. Well, let's get into the residence in which they have lived on this 13-acre parcel. They resided in a structure made of 2 mobile homes combined together to make one big home with no electricity or plumbing. You just keep in mind, this isn't note this because this is going to be something that's brought up later. Okay. So they lived in this monster house that was Frankenstein together to make one home. They have no electricity or plumbing. I guess they're like first off-gridding here. Off-gridding for sure.
Ew.
And note here as well that due to no plumbing, Simmons had his family regularly dig cesspits or holes for outhouses or bathrooms.
Outside that's real wrong turn vibes for me.
I mean, it's starting to feel a little creep.
A little hillbilly West Virginia for me.
Oh, that's just mean.
We're from Western Virginia. There's a difference.
I mean, absolutely. There's a whole mountain in between.
Anyways.
Okay. So we noted that he had his family, not himself, but his children and probably his wife, dig cesspits. Well, about 3 of them, is noted.
I mean, he's above digging cesspits.
He retired. He did his due diligence.
Exactly. Served this country.
Mm-hmm. Won awards. Was common.
Children.
Moving on. Also surrounding this 13-acre parcel of land was again, Frankenstein, whatever they could grab a hold of, 10-foot privacy fence.
That's red flag too.
Yeah, red flag. And see, you need to start adding in some red flags.
Red flag.
You know what? Maybe I should just find a red flag. Red flag.
I'll put that on our wish list.
Okay. Cool. Do that. That's great. All right. Okay, so let's move on a little bit more. Simmons did work off and on after retirement at low-paying jobs. One of those jobs being a accounts receivable clerk at Woodline Motor Freight. Please note this location. But only after several reports of inappropriate sexual advances, the man's a dog, he was fired or let go.
Probably fired. She was probably like, get out.
Mm-hmm. And then the next one that is noted is the Sinclair Mini Mart, for where he worked for a year and a half before quitting on December 18th, 1987. Please mark this date in your mind.
December
Yeah.
18?
Hmm?
December 18?
1987.
Wow.
Okay. Now we're going to go into the meat and potatoes of the situation. Okay. 1987, still in the 80s.
Turkey dinner, if you will.
Proceed, if you will. Yes, of course. Okay. So, as of December of 1987, the number of family members that lived in the household was total of 7 people. Not all 7 children, but a total of 7. So 5 children and 2 adults. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In total, Billy and Sheila had moved out, which were the elder kids. Sheila, remember, was his favorite daughter. But they had moved out to marry and have children of their own. All right. So next, after we've noted all that information, noted and accounted for, we're moving into the murder spree. Because remember, he is the American mass murderer. And if you don't know what a mass murderer is,
he's not a mass murderer.
I mean,
he's a serial killer. He's both.
Yeah, I think he's kind of both, because usually a mass murderer is defined as one incident where it's several victims, whereas a serial killer lays out their victims. But then
a serial killer is at least 2 different incidences with 3 or more victims. There are 3 incidences in this story with 16 victims. Did you already say that?
Mm-hmm.
So he's a serial killer.
Well, we know it. We'll let other people decide. We'll just move on.
I just told you the answer.
Because there's 3 different instances.
Exactly, that's serial.
Moving on.
Whatever.
Okay, so the murder spree. The days leading up to the annual Christmas family gathering, Simmons came up with an unforgettable surprise, and he put that into action on the morning of 12/22/1987.
That's Grandma's birthday.
That's a merry note.
Wait, not the year though. She was already born.
Obviously. I mean, she already had your dad by then and your uncle. So I would think
5 more years.
Not you yet. Not you.
No, wait, 7 more years. What year are we in?
1987.
Yeah. Moving on.
Mm-hmm. All right. His wife Becky and eldest son Gene were the first to receive this unforgettable surprise. The gift that he gave to them was he bludgeoned them both with a crowbar and then shot them both with a .22 caliber pistol. Yeah. Then he turned to his 3-year-old granddaughter, Barbara. 3-year-old granddaughter, Barbara, where he strangled her and then held her underwater to make sure that she was dead. Then
just strangle her to death.
I mean, she was 3. I don't see how that would be very hard.
Well,
even though kids are very resilient, that age frame.
Not when a grown-ass man strangles them to death.
I know, but I'm just saying it's like harder for them to break bones and stuff because they're very
spongy.
Yeah, spongy is a good word. But not that I'm condoning any type of strangulation of any child whatsoever. That's bad. Don't do it.
So ridiculous.
And let's all remember the cesspits that he had his family dig earlier.
Mostly.
Because it is it's an important part of the story. Because he took all 3 of their bodies, his wife, his long-suffering wife, Becky, his son, and his 3-year-old granddaughter, and put them all in the cesspits.
What a douche.
Oh, just wait. It gets better. Now, remember there are 7 members in this family in the household. Okay. So the same day, he has put his wife, his son, and his granddaughter in the cesspit after bludgeoning 2, shooting them as well, and then strangling and drowning his granddaughter. He waits for the other children to come home from school to start their Christmas break. As they came home from the bus, he told them all that he had a very special surprise for them. So he had them all go to their room, and he called them out one by one. The oldest daughter that was in the household now at age 17 is Loretta. He called her out first to receive the surprise, where he strangled her and then held her head underwater in the rain barrel outside to make sure she was dead.
Merry Christmas.
Very unforgettable surprise. The 3 remaining children, he called them out in order: Eddie, Marianne, and Becky. He did the same thing. He strangled them all one by one and held them in the rain barrels until they were all dead. And then, yes, indeed, he took all of them and put their bodies in the cesspit as well. I'm just going to take a pause here.
What a douche.
Some. I don't think douche really encompasses his audacity.
I don't know what would.
I mean, a crowbar and a 22 would work for me.
Well, then we would be murderers.
Worth it. He just strangled and drowned 4 kids. 5 kids, because it was Barbara, Marianne, Loretta, Eddie, and Becky. And he shot and killed his wife and son. That would be letting him get off lightly. Okay. Anyways, so remember, this is the 22nd. And he's murdered 6 people. He's murdered. Right? Yeah. So Becky, Jean, Barbara, Loretta, Eddie, Marianne, Becky. Oh, actually, 7. Okay. I guess maybe one of them was visiting. I don't know.
Daughter. Whose daughter is the granddaughter?
Jean's, I think.
Okay.
Okay. So that was the 22nd. So he just, I guess, putted around the house from the 22nd until the 26th. So he spent a quiet Christmas at home.
I don't know what else you want me to say.
It wraps it up. It wraps it up pretty nice. Okay, so then on the 26th, remember I mentioned that he had invited all of his family over for the annual Christmas get together.
Right.
And I guess he now can finish out his plan. So as the 26th rolled around, the remaining family members arrived at home. The first killed was his eldest son, Billy, Billy's wife, Renata, by shooting them as they came in. He then
Merry Christmas, Papa.
Then he strangles and drowns the 20-month-old son, Trey.
Billy and Renata's?
Billy and Renata's son, 20-month-old Trey. Strangles and drowns. I don't understand why he's strangling and drowning them.
2. The babies are 2. Yeah. They knew.
They're not even 2.
They knew that Grandpa was killing them.
Yeah. Supposedly safe Grandpa was killing them.
Supposedly safe.
Questionable.
Dick his whole life. Okay, first off.
Exacting. That's the word.
Thought that Grandpa was a safe person.
Apparently. I don't understand why the family was dedicated and came every year for Christmas if he was such a dick. That's my question.
Well, we definitely have family that we talk to regularly, even though they're dicks.
But they're, family, they don't live forever. So I guess
Now, if my dad molested me and fathered my child and made me dig poop holes in the ground, I probably wouldn't visit him for Christmas.
poop holes.
But
Really?
probably we're visiting Rebecca.
Probably. Yeah. More than likely they were supporting their mother. More than likely.
Nobody gives a fuck about Donald.
Probably not. All right. You did it again. Please see previous episode of the Candy Van.
Our first ever episode, I called Ronald Donald. I don't know why. I hate that name Ronald, apparently.
That's why I was going with Simmons, so you wouldn't do it.
I know.
Anyways. All right. So he killed 3 more people. And then the next to arrive is Sheila. Remember, the mother of his grandchild.
/ baby.
Dear Lord. And her husband, Dennis McNulty.
Who had to be a good man.
Yeah, I mean, he had to be something for her to marry him. But as they came in, they were also shot and killed.
I meant he had to be a good man because he adopted her incest baby.
We're not there yet, though.
Spoilers.
Spoiler. So he shot them as they came in. And then the children, Sylvia Gale, his biological daughter, with Sheila, and Michael, the 21-month-old grandson, in which he strangled both of them.
And that was Sheila and what's his face? Baby.
Dennis, yeah.
Dennis. Sorry, Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't like that name.
In lieu of tossing them into the cesspit, he actually laid all of their bodies out in the lounge in a row and covered them all with jackets, save for Sheila. He had laid her on the dining table and covered her with Rebecca, his wife's best tablecloth.
So gross.
It's like a shroud of Turin. It's so weird. It's weird.
It's gross. It's not weird, it's gross.
I mean, it's weird and gross. How about that? Because
because the reason that he gave her special treatment, it's gross.
It is. It is gross.
He's gross.
Yeah. I have no argument for that. I don't know what you expect me to say. He's like, no, he's not. Yeah, he's terrible.
R.I.H.
That took me a second. That did. You got me on that one. And for those who didn't catch on, it's rest in hell.
I thought rot, but rest is fine.
I mean, rest, rot. He ain't resting in hell, man.
I'm different.
He's gonna be
same thing.
He's gonna be swimming in a cesspool of shit forever. Sounds super gross.
All right.
Anywho, so as he puts his daughter basically like a shrine to her, as elevated. I don't know how to describe that. It's something. It's weird.
It's gross.
It is gross, yes. So he has all of them laid out in the house. He takes Trey and Michael's bodies, which are the babies, the 20-month and the 21-month-old. He takes both of their bodies and wraps them in plastic sheeting and leaves them in abandoned vehicles at the end of the lane on the property.
But not his biological daughter.
No.
What was her name?
Sylvia Gale.
Sylvia. Interesting.
Yeah. It's I just don't get, I mean, just the thought process of any of it. Like that in particular, why the babies in the vehicles separated from everybody else? Is he trying to hide the fact that he did that from himself?
They're not his kin, so he's removing them from.
But they are his
But
kin.
he would move the dads too, so.
Yeah, so
He would move the dad and the mom, who aren't related to him.
But the children were, because they're his grandchildren by blood.
I just meant that they're not his children.
Yeah, that doesn't ride because he has everybody else laid out in the living room.
So everybody else is his children or their significant others. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
Okay. But anyways, after leaving the children, the babies, in the abandoned cars on the lane, Simmons decides to go out to the local bar and get a drink, spend some time out. And then before he returns home and spends the rest of the night and the next day drinking beer and watching television.
God, he's a freaking alcoholic.
While his family is laid out around him.
It's gross.
Yeah. So that was so we covered the 26th, the 22nd, the 26th, and it is not over yet.
Because he's a serial killer.
Because he's a crazy shithead.
Who's
Okay.
a serial killer?
Shut up. All right. So after he spends the next night and day drinking, watching television, he decides on December the 28th that, you know what? In for a penny, in for a pound.
2 days later.
Mm-hmm.
That these bodies are just
sitting there around him.
And the baby's in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Whose car?
I guess abandoned cars that he had. And not to mention 4 or 5 other children, and his wife and his son are in the freaking poop pit.
I just don't know how the babies didn't get found.
Oh, we're not there yet.
Okay, go.
All right. So, like I said, he says, you know what? I'm in for a penny, in for a pound. I got more to do. So he drove to Walmart in Russellville, where he purchased another firearm to continue his murder spree.
I mean, at this point, you're already going to jail for murder, so why not just take out everybody you need to?
Mm-hmm.
You don't like. I don't know.
Well, let's get a count here. So right now we're at 14 people. His own family. 14. Okay. So after he purchases the gun, he first stops at a law firm where he has previously met Secretary Kathy Kendrick, who he had been infatuated with, but had been rejected multiple times. After walking into the office, he shot and killed Kathy.
How old is Kathy?
Oh, let's see. I think she's 24.
So the same age as the daughter he just murdered and previously molested.
Yep. I see.
Ew.
That's all you can say is ew.
I don't know what else to say. It's ew.
All right. Okay, so he shot and killed her. Second stop was to the oil company where he intended to kill the owner, Rusty Taylor. Rusty was the owner of Sinclair Mini Marts. Remember, that's the one he resigned from on the 18th of December, just a few days before his spree started.
I remember.
Yeah. I'm just rehashing, just making sure the timeline's still sitting there.
I don't think it changed.
Nope. Mm-mm. Okay, so Simmons shot and wounded Rusty before killing another person, which he did not know, by the name of James David Chafin. Another employee was shot at, but the bullet missed. So he shot at Russell, he shot at another employee, and he killed James Chafin.
I thought he was a master marksman in the Army, the Air Force, or whatever. Like, missed not once, but twice.
Well, maybe, it's like one of those things where he's trying to hit one guy, he's moving, and another person's moving, he's focused on this person, and this other person coming through. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm just telling what's reported.
Sounds like his medals might have been focused.
Or maybe when they check for marksmanship, they have a fixed target that maybe move forward and backward, but not side to side.
Well, then how can you be a marksman?
I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know.
What a loser.
Well, I'm glad he's glad he's not alive. Spoiler.
Well, he can't shoot straight, so he wouldn't be able to shoot me anyways.
Well, he shot straight enough to kill 2 more people.
Dang.
So he killed Kathy. He killed James, who he didn't even know. He then went to the Sinclair Mini Mart, where he shot and wounded 2 more people. I don't know if it's like a drive-by or what. I don't know exactly what happened there. But it just seemed like he popped in, bang, bang, and left, And then the final stop was to Woodline Motor Freight Company, where he was, I guess, the accounts receivable clerk, where he shot his former supervisor twice, wounding her.
Yeah, that's probably the lady he was sexually harassing.
Probably, honestly.
Freaking loser.
But once he was done with shooting her and wounding her, he took another employee hostage, I guess, kind of, sort of, at gunpoint, and had them, while telling them he's not going to hurt them or kill them, he had them call the police. Because the police ain't here yet. This all happened in 45 minutes. But there's no police.
But that's okay. So point A, point B, C, D, right? We're at D now. 45 minutes later, people got shot at points A, B, and C. But police are like, what? What are police doing? Prepping for the New Year party?
Maybe.
Uh-uh.
Maybe they're still on the Christmas high. I don't know.
It's the 28th. Christmas is over.
Happy New Year.
Anyways, they call the police.
Okay, so the police arrive and he actually surrenders without any type of resistance. And like I said, it took less than an hour to do all this. The surrender, the action, the purchase of the gun, the going, the visiting, and the surrendering, all under an hour.
The purchase of the gun?
Mm-hmm.
That's like A, B, C, D, E.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No. Police do better.
Well, apparently, at this point, the police don't even know about his family at all. Do you know how they found out?
He told them.
No. They tried to contact his family. That's how they found out. No. They basically took him to jail. For this, I read this somewhere else. I'm not sure. But from what I read, it said that they took him to jail. They were putting him in the cell, and he asked him about his family, and he just looked down and his lip trembled. That was it.
What a bitch.
All right. Moving on. So the police go over to his compound, find the people in the living room laid out. But I guess continue to search because I guess the amount of people in the cars didn't match up or something. I don't know. But apparently they kept looking and they found the people in the cesspit, which probably was not going very well right now because it's from the 22nd to the 28th.
Probably smells so bad.
But nobody would think about it because it's a cesspit.
I think that crap and rotting flesh smell different.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's 2 different kinds of awful.
It certainly is. I mean, both of them sound terrible to me.
But, 13-acre compound, maybe nobody was even close enough.
I don't know. I wouldn't put the outhouse that far away. I mean, what if it gets cold? It snows there sometimes.
Ugh.
Anywho, let's move on. So the police found out about the children. They find the babies in the car. They find the people in the cesspit. They find the family in the living room. They find Sheila on the table and shrouded with the best tablecloth that Rebecca had.
You just got so country.
I can't help it. I had to run it down like I was country because I just feel like it was working for me.
Like some beans and cornbread up in here.
Hey, do not mock beans and cornbread, okay?
All right, go on with your bad self.
All right, on to the conviction. After the arrest of Simmons, he underwent a psychiatric, I said it right that time, evaluation to see if he was fit to stand trial.
Is that hilarious?
I'm laughing at myself. I can't say psychiatric. Ooh, I just popped my jaw. Anyways, so he went to get that eval done, and he was found to be of sound mind. The first trial that he had was May 1988 for the murders of Kendrick and Chapin, which is the secretary and the unknown associate of Rusty. And he was found guilty and sentenced to death. His under oath statement was, now I'm not sure if this is verbatim, but this is what I found. Okay.
Okay.
Says, I, Ronald G. Simmons Sr., want it to be known that I wish that, and oh wait, blah, blah, blah.
Senior.
What?
So he had a son named after him that he murdered and threw in a cesspit.
Yes.
Continue.
So he says, I, Ronald G. Simmons Sr., want it to be known that it is my wish and my desire that absolutely no action by anybody be taken to appeal or in any way change the sentence. It is further respectfully requested that this sentence be carried out expeditiously. So hurry up, give me. Mm-hmm.
Death is too swift a punishment for a loser who killed his whole family and 2 other people, and then shot 3 other people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now that was just the first trial. So he was sentenced to death. At his next trial, in February of 1989, he was being tried for the 14 family members, and he was sentenced to death by lethal injection. So, lethal injection, here he comes. All right. Let's move on to possible motive. So I was like, well, what made him jump off the deep end here and kill his family and murder a couple of people?
He was already flirting with the deep end, first off.
True enough. Since 1980, what, 7?
Since his whole life, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he built a patchwork fence around a patchwork house with no electricity, no running water, porta potty holes.
I think I like poop holes better.
Birthed a child with his daughter.
He didn't birth her. Fathered.
Parented. Fathered. That's what I was looking for. Fathered a child with his child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had also fathered.
Blech.
I think that sums it up.
That's my whole feelings towards this case.
So, would you like to hear the motive now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have the letter, but apparently the possible motive was that his wife, Rebecca, was planning to divorce him and had been saving up to do so. And
rightfully so, Rebecca.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think she felt it was about time to leave.
But yeah.
Yeah. But, you got to hit your limit. And she had been beaten down, I guess, enough to make that limit long.
I think my limit would have been the stepdaughter, granddaughter. But not judging. Battered women syndrome and all.
How would that be? Would it be, step, daughter, full granddaughter? That's weird. That's weird. I don't care who you are. That's weird. During the trial for the 14 family members, Simmons had to be forcefully removed from the courtroom after he punched the prosecutor and was trying to grab a deputy's handgun after the prosecutor introduced a letter by Sheila and between Sheila and Rebecca, his wife, where Sheila revealed Simmons to be the father of Sylvia Gale. And he expressed he would see Sheila in hell for her betrayal.
What was he trying to grab the gun for? Who was he going to shoot?
The prosecutor. The prosecutor. Because the prosecutor brought that up. exposed his dirty little secret.
Wow, you could just not rape your daughter. Then you don't have to worry about the prosecutor bringing it up.
Moot point. So Simmons refused to appeal his death sentence, right? Stating that to those who oppose the death penalty in my particular case, anything short of death would be cruel and unusual punishment.
Exactly. That's exactly why it should have been appealed. Point in case.
Yeah.
Duh.
But no. But then, then he's I think his retribution in hell would be much better than taxpayers paying to keep him alive just because we want him to suffer.
Well, I don't believe in hell, so that does little for me.
He does, so that's what's important.
No.
Okay. On to the execution. Are you ready for the execution?
Yes.
All right. So, while on death row, Simmons had to be separated from all the other prisoners. His life was threatened constantly, and this was due to his refusal to appeal his death sentence, which the other inmates thought he would be damaging their own chances of beating their own sentences.
What a waste of taxpayer money.
No, it's a waste of taxpayer money.
To separate him? Oh, what a waste.
I mean, just think if they did not, he would have been dead a lot sooner. Let's be honest.
And then we wouldn't have to use taxpayer money to pay for his lethal injection. Because did you know that the cost to execute one death row inmate is the same as housing 5 life-term inmates?
Why would it cost so much?
I don't know.
Is it the chemical makeup of what they use?
I don't think it's the lethal injection itself. I think it's literally just like everything that goes into putting him to death.
Their last meal? Was that expensive?
I don't know. I just read it somewhere when I was doing research about death row.
Okay.
And execution.
I mean, would it be terrible if I said just put them in a room and take out all the oxygen? How much would that cost?
Probably a lot, actually.
Or, I got a better one. What if they put them in a freezer?
Or we let the other death row inmates kill him.
That would really mess up their chances of appealing.
You know what? People aren't going to believe this, but I'm actually against the death penalty.
I am not overly against the death penalty.
I'm
not. But I support it when people deserve it. And they have actually murdered. And it is proven firmly that they have murdered.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The 2 cases that we've talked about, the death sentence has
deserved.
Literally, you can't tell me it wasn't you. Short of having you on video footage, it's pretty freaking obvious that it was you.
Yeah, and he actually admitted to doing it too. So
what a loser.
Okay. So May 31st, 1990, Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton signed the execution warrant. On June 25th, 1990, he died. Simmons, not Bill.
He died.
Hopefully, lethal injection in the Cummings unit. I'm guessing that's some unit in the prison. I don't know. None, and I put these in large letters to emphasize. None, not one solitary surviving relative would claim his body. And he was buried in a potter's field in Lincoln County, Arkansas.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
Not his body either.
I mean, how much does it cost to cremate somebody? I think that would be cheaper than burying them.
$1,200.
I'm sure it's $1,500 now for inflation.
Bucks.
Any questions?
Nope.
Pretty good, right? Pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I was like, holy cow. I was reading through all this stuff and I was like, boring.
Probably don't
Mass murder.
It's not mass murder. It's serial murder.
Listen, that is what they categorized it for.
Who?
Whoever wrote the article.
Whoever wrote the article is an idiot.
Oh.
He's a serial killer. He's actually a family annihilator.
Big words. You're saying all these big words I don't understand, even though I know what an annihilator is.
A family annihilator is someone who kills their whole family.
I said I know what that is. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Family annihilator. They kill their family.
Well, whoever wrote that article needs to watch more Criminal Minds.
Maybe Criminal Minds is stupid.
Oh, that's funny.
You know, it's a drama. It's not factual life, you know.
What? I'm aware of that.
Are you sure?
The definition of a serial killer is one who murders multiple people throughout multiple incidences.
Which what happened?
Exactly. A mass murderer kills massive amounts of people, at least 5, in one particular incident. But he's a serial killer, family annihilator.
Oh, how about this? Hey,
You're
trash.
supposed to be dumb.
Hey, trash.
Yeah, he's a loser.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays. Enjoy your family. Don't kill them.
We'll catch you in the new year. Until next year.
Next year.
Next year.
Bye.
Bye.